supervisor's ever seen it. Okay.
My daughter. He's almost a full head taller than her.
Well, Noah's already
for me, you know, I know that, yeah, we go out there and do our due diligence, make sure everything's like it's supposed to be, and, you know, we run all the discussion surface as we can, you know, everything's good that way, and check out the high, check pipe, make sure that stuff's good. You know, when you got a chance to do that, I'll get about a year. I like to go ahead and put in for that.
Hey, good to see you. Yes, sir.
Hello, Carol. I don't know that off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look at their
It's pumping tech. Your point is
yeah, you know, because you could always say, hey, we're, you know, you can always decline on bids, you know, so they, but to me, I think it's not going to get any better, but you know, I don't know that the world is, I don't know if you call it punting or just taking a timeout. You know, because punting usually involves giving the football to the other team. Hey, Frank. Good to see you, sir. I think Dennis wants to touch on this just a bit, so I'll know that's here. It's a pretty picture. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. Got any extras yet? I have, but you don't like them. So I'm trying to get one you like. Well, unfortunately, I think your counselor over here just gives you the right answer, and that's what I'm finding. I just, you know, it is one of those things that I wanted to explore it all the way through. I don't.
I called out from that earlier when I was trying to get the number for him. I called myself.
Trying to get Brian down.
I'm going to try to call him. This is like the,
yeah. And what we need to do is yeah. And I have not talked to the revenue commissioner explicitly about it, but what they'll change.
I'm trying to get Brian.
he's the one I think. He called on it.
Christopher's trying to get Brian on the phone, transferring in.
What if I call him?
I don't know which way.
If he tried, it wouldn't go through.
It's got some different colored pieces. It has some strange stuff they call it. What's your prognostication or whatever? Derek, what you go? What have we headed? Yeah, well, you got that. And that's where for me. I look at it. I told him he's spot on this. I just think it's kind of interesting because that's called me. Somebody called me.
Got you on this phone. We have to put it on speaker.
I called here. It was a guy from Ranger. I talked to him a little bit. And
no, it's
work that they did in 2008. It's just now a business.
Well, I want to make sure we tried calling you for a minute. I mean, I tried calling you from Steve trying to transfer you over, but it's
We had the reconciliation. You didn't find this technique. You gave the idea.
I don't know. But I'll fit this on.
That's what he did. That's what I need to check on mine. Make sure that, you know, how do you do that? And that's when we did the conference. I don't like going in. That's why for me, he came back and he revised it, but him, after our conversation.
Well, I mean, if you think Ranger is false, by putting the project out, it's not a,
You're right, it's a certain Brian, you with me, buddy? Okay. Yeah, I just tried to call him out. They're fired. Says service unavailable also. It was his, while we were talking.
No problem. I got you right here.
are you saying the company did that job?
Should have plenty enough charge. This is a very short meeting. I hope there's only 10 items on the agenda. Actually, there's only about 6 items on the agenda.
Okay.
He knows he was, so we should be all right.
A.C. Tyler Corporation, how you feel? Which he said, his company, now he works for Ranger. So I don't know, I haven't done any kind of research on who bought what.
Good deal, sir. Now that I got you online, I'll go ahead and
So
start.
for me, that's why I say, I don't know all the holes that are in that. But what is it? It wasn't Ranger, and that's for me, when they got called.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody.
Those phones are a good option.
I'd like to welcome everybody to Madison County Board of Commissioners session agenda, August 1st, 2022, 4 p.m. I apologize on the delay. We were getting Commissioner Kirk tied in with us. He's available here now on speakerphone. Due to some health issues, he'll not be with us tonight, but he is in attendance. Thank you. The very first thing, again, tonight is a work session. You are welcome to speak freely. This is not a business. There will be some voting going on tonight because we had already pre-planned for that. If there's any questions, please with the questions. We will answer them best we can. First off, I want to start off with the chair's report, and I've asked Ms. Lacey Baker to show you something that she's working on. I'm going to give you a little background on it as she pulls this up. So Madison County has had a website that was created 22 years ago. And if you've ever tried to use it from a public standpoint, that's what you're working with. It's not so up to date. About 6 years ago, Madison County ventured to get bids on building a website, and it was about $30,000. We found out just recently, and I attribute all of it, to Lacey Baker. She went in, she figured it out, and she's put us together a presentation for the Board of Commissioners to look at. If y'all all see any discrepancies or something you'd like to change, please let her know. If not, we will try to get this thing online as soon as possible. Lacey, walk us through it.
Okay. If you look at the old website, everything is on like a drop-down menu base where there's a lot of reading. You have to several screens to get to any department that you're looking for. On the new website, excuse me, you'll notice that there is a little motto stating how great our county is, I believe 100%. And then at the bottom, there's a department directory. I have included little captions for every department, something to kind of catch your eye that's associated with that department. Tax Commissioner, you have a tag. Sheriff's Department, you have the Sheriff seal. EMS, Fire Department, something that's a little more. So if you're looking for something specific, this will draw your eye to it. If you don't know what department you're looking for, you can always click here. And I've created a drop-down that shows you every department in alphabetical order that coincides with the other pages on the screen. If we go home, I'm going to use the Board of Commissioners page as kind of an example. By clicking on the board, you'll see the address, the hours of operations for the county, contact information, but it's also broken into several little subcategories just to try to keep the pages shorter. The Board of Commissioners will have each district and the chairman with their phone number, cell phone, email address, any way to contact the district commissioner in your area. You also have a meeting calendar that will tell you the dates and the time for every meeting. You have a link to the agendas and minutes. And these links on here for the meetings we've already had this year are not correct. They don't work right now. I am working with IT on getting all that information backed up and put to my hard drive so I can put them on this page. There's just documents on this existing website that I don't have the space right now to download every single individual document to transfer it over. So Thomas is helping me with that. And you also have a meeting videos where before on the old page you had to click on this, and then you had to click on this, and then you had to click on this to get to the YouTube channel. Now you can just click on it and it pulls up planning and zoning and the BOC all in one area. You go back to your home. A lot of the existing page, you had to say clerk of courts, for instance. When you clicked on theirs, it would show you just their phone number and the address, and then you had to click on another link to get to their actual page. I wanted to kind of cut out the middleman. So in our gallery, if you scroll all the way down, click on Clerk of Court, it'll take you directly there. Same thing with the water department. If we click on theirs, it'll take you to the water department's homepage. Just some little things to make it a little more user-friendly. I also added the fire department and the city hall information. That was something the existing site didn't have. So if we click on the fire department, we'll be able to where they're located, their email address, their phone number, if they have a Facebook page, that way you can keep up to date with current events, any activities going on. And same thing with City Hall. Our existing site didn't have any contact information for any of the cities. So you'll see their address, mailing, phone number, fax number, email, who the mayor is currently, and any other websites that might be associated with those individual cities. And there's also, at the upper right-hand corner, a public announcement section, just to kind of give the public, the citizens, any information that may be happening in the future. Just a quick little link so they're not searching all over the website looking for information. If we go back home, there's also a section that says Other Departments. This gives information for anything and everything you could possibly look for in Madison County, surrounding areas, or with the state of Georgia, any kind of government office. And all of the underlines are hyperlinks to go directly to those department pages. So if we click on Chamber of Commerce, we're going to go directly there instead of having to search and search and search to find it. So I'm hoping with this layout and then a lot more user-friendly and be able to catch your eye and help you find what you're looking for in a more functioning site. That's all I have.
I appreciate it.
Excellent.
I'm super excited about it because as you showed that old one, you clicked off of it. But anyway, the old one would have never had, you know, a lot of people, they look for the emblem. If they want to see water department, they saw a water tower. Obviously, before they just had to read a one-liner. You know, people just could not work that link for some reason. And it was a little aggravating. I'm super proud of what she put together, but there's a couple more additives to this that she hasn't mentioned. One is we get to update this by us, by Lacey, where before we had to call into a company, request changes, request additions, request minutes to be added. It was a constant, and there was a fee. This one is free. So not only did she save us a lot of upfront money, but the monitoring of it and updating of it, internal. So super proud of that, super proud of Lacey on that job she's done on that. Believe it or not, our rec department built theirs, and that's how we found out about it. Miss Shelley was in and she said, well, I built ours, and I'm like, can you build websites? She said, y'all can too, and I said, I can, but Lacey can. So, I think y'all talked for 30 minutes, and next thing you know, about 5 days later, this is what we got.
It is still a work in progress. There are several kinks that I still have to work out, mostly with IT, a lot of getting our domain name that we already have associated so that they link together when we go to a live format for it. But it's working.
I appreciate it, Lacey. If you got any questions or any additions to it, we will give you the link. I don't know if it's in paperwork tonight or not, but you can go home and pull it up yourself and say, hey, yeah, like this added or this taken away.
Since it's not live, there's not a link.
Okay.
It's just in like a preview stage right now, but once it's published, you can go on there and pull it up.
All right, cool.
Lacey, I assume it is, but my question anyway, it's mobile friendly, like?
Yes, it has 3 demo options that you can look at. We lost Brian.
All right, we'll call him back.
All right, up here you can click on a preview for it, and down here it gives you a mobile kind of shot of what it would look like if you were looking at it on your cell phone, and a tablet format. So if you're looking at it on a MacBook or and it kind of condenses it down.
Great. Great work, thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
The only other thing I have in Chairman's report, because we just had a meeting last week, is we have the quarterly report from the Michael Moore Sheriff's Office. This is put together by Scott Rice. In addition to that, we have a new security officer here tonight. There's been some change in employees, Sheriff's Department, and we're proud to have him working here. So from April 1st, 2022 to 6/30/2022, you'll see the numbers in front. 17,000 people come through this building. 17,049 people come through the building from April 1st to June 30th. Year to date, 34,143 people. But I appreciate what Scott and them does. Last Friday, I think there was close to 500 people coming through the door just in that one day because the court system's so large. There's a project that I wanted to mention, the property now that was purchased, I think in 2019, by the Board of Commissioners across the street. We are going to start grubbing that area and cleaning that area off and grab some excessive parking, because on court day, we're out. The back parking lot's completely full. They're using the overflow down at the courthouse and the court, so we're probably going to take that acre and a half, just clear it off and put some base down just so we have some overflow parking. But that project list. With that being said, I have nothing else for Chairman's report. Any questions, gentlemen? Hearing none business. Consider the preliminary plat approval for Madison Preserve. I assume, gentlemen, that you went through the IDBA and got everything you needed?
I believe Mr. Joel is here, and we have talked. Good evening, I'm Warren Dunn, engineer, principal engineer with ABE Consulting. Our office is at 2410 Hog Mountain Road in Watkinsville. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. Good to be with you again, and we have I've talked to Mr. again about what needs to happen for the water line. It is a standard procedure where you have a water line sitting, part of it not being used. You gotta clean it, make sure all the valves are in good order, all the hydrants, and then of course once everything is cleaned and checked, of course we want to check. Provided some pictures, but we want to see that in the field as far as the size and the types of the material. But I assure you that we did have a 6-inch, and it's a DR 14 C900, which is what they require today. We've done that. Designed it way back. Hopefully, it was a little bit more what they required back then, but it worked out in the best favor for the, then once everything is cleaned out, then you would do chlorination, get samples for bacteria, make sure that's in order, and that's when Mr. and his group will say, we're good to go, and that would be dedicated to the county at that stage. And I believe that's the only item we had left out to discuss in the commission, make sure we had a chance to discuss that with IDEA.
Thank you, sir. So I'm assuming that I did with everything in y'all's votes.
What we want to do is go out in the field and verify what we think we have, and we want to make sure that all of our taps are all located and valves, and once we've ascertained everything's in working order, then we'll take over and we'll have to do some flushing, obviously, along those lines. But
None of that should
we don't expect to see any issues, maybe a little maintenance, something like that.
But like I say, this is just preliminary plat approval, so now that we have that working detail, we can always fall back in the next approval stage had it need be. So with that being said, gentlemen, I'll ask for a motion to approve the preliminary plat for the Madison Reserve.
And Mr. Chairman, that would be with these conditions that are...
Yes, sir, with conditions listed below.
I move this preliminary plat be approved with state conditions.
I have a motion by Commissioner Chandler. I have a second by Commissioner Adams. Gentlemen, any discussion?
Yes, sir. I had sent out a list of questions. I think and I'll use the term, I think all are in agreement, but for my comfort level, I'd like to see if we could read those in and make them part of
Condition.
The more specified conditions or stipulations to the conditions, and I'll read them out loud, and if there's any reservations, also an opportunity if there needs to be a response. I'm happy to hear that as well. Again, I sent these out earlier. It is, make sure we have enough fire hydrants and make sure they're in the right place. I mean, I'm not trying to pressure test, conform line worthiness, of course. I understand the photos were provided, but we wanted to do our own due diligence, potholing and such. Any existing taps were made, make sure that they're reliable where they are, and that Frank just, said that a minute ago, to kind of check the flushing, chlorination, confirmed bacterial testing is acceptable, and making sure the pipe size and the material are acceptable. I think everybody was in agreement to those. And then also I had two or three to note about the roadway. I like it because it's been sitting so long, and I don't know anybody that's been around that inspected the road when they were originally built, and I have any evidence of that. I'd like to have a third-party inspection firm, a geotech firm, core the road, and make sure that the general locations, just several general locations, that the road was built according to what we believe it was built. Make sure that we're not taking over something that we feel is unappropriate. The existing roadway pipes and storm drain structures on the property are inspected for condition prior to accepting them. And then, of course, any repairs and resealing the roadway to the road department's acceptance. I think in general, those are stuff that people had talked about, but I felt like they need to be called out specifically.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, obviously engineers think alike. So for me, in order for me to certify to this board that this is done correctly, the steps that he just outlined, I will have to go through that. So we will have some cores done, in the pavement to ensure pavement and base are, present and correct. We'll be checking the storm water. Of course, the water system, we will be going through that process as well. So we're in agreement with that. Don't have a problem with that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. So we will add into that condition above and beyond this document, Derek's document. We'll just add to that condition, if that's agreeable with you gentlemen, and we'll ask for a motion to approve. You can redo that.
We just do that as a friendly amendment to Commissioner Chandler's
That's right.
motion.
So he amended the vote to include the second document. So Dennis, it's on you.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Brian. I skipped you, I'm sorry. I did, but you caught me. All right, gentlemen, thank you
We
so
mentioned
much.
this last week, but thank y'all for working on this. I appreciate
Thank
y'all
y'all.
very much.
I know it's been a grueling process, but
Get there, we appreciate y'all.
Like I said, I'm gonna get up to you, so, I know.
Let's, thank
Forward
you.
your email on it.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take care of it.
next under old business is consider approving a local renegotiation. We've had several mayors come in today and sign the negotiation. We feel that it will be 100%. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the local option sales tax loss negotiations, renegotiations. The percentages are listed changed.
I'll make a motion to accept the distribution between the cities for the loss program. I guess for the record, Carlton at 2.5%, Colbert at 8%, Comer at 8%, Danielsville at 6%, Hull at 1.5%, Isla at 2.5%, retaining Madison County at 74%.
Thank
If I
you,
read
Dave.
that correctly, I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Doster, second by Commissioner Chandler. Gentlemen, any other discussion? I do have one other thing I'd like to say, but go ahead if you have any other discussion. All right, just to update you all, and I'm sorry I should have done this before we started that, not going to reflect it in any way. I did ask each city to provide the state minimum requirements to be a city. Them to provide that also when they come in to sign this. I need a piece of paper showing me that they meet the three options, at least three options you have to be a city. So I just wanted you all to know what I told them. So we know for a fact, and it's not to pick on anybody, but the state does require this, and before I start, they meet that obligation. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none?
Yes. Yeah.
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. Motion carries. Consider seal bids for the Industrial Development and Business Authority CDBG grant. As you all are aware, some things come to light, I think Saturday over the email chain. And with that being said, I think Senator Ginn is here to speak on behalf of the IDBA as Assistant Director.
Happy to. One of the things that, situation that you have a non-responsive answer from one of the questions that were required from the Ranger Environmental. You have $5,000 difference between them and lowest bids, and I've talked to both contractors. I told them that's a board decision that'll be made by the Board of Commission. The situation that we're in is you have a revised letter from our engineer that says he labels the Ranger Environmental as non-responsive, and therefore recommend award to Dale Construction. And so for me, one of the things that I'm decision y'all want to make, you could hold the bids. I think that y'all's next meeting is what day?
August 20, I don't remember off the top of my head.
28th or 29th.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You know, that is an option if for some reason, and I have not looked that up, but that was one of the things that brought to me as I walked into the room tonight. If for some reason, if there was a federal line on, hey, we got to get this moving faster, don't know that there is or not, could y'all or would y'all meet again just for the making a recommendation of award if it had to be done within, between now and the 29th?
Yes, I tried to look back at the CDBG grant, and I did not see it, but for some reason September 1st sticks out in my head. But I just can't recall, and I couldn't find the document that showed it.
And I wish I had known that the question was coming up. I would have tried to get you an answer, but when I walked in, it hit me cold. I don't have that requirement, and so for me, you have the recommendation from the engineer. I concur with his recommendation. Whether you want to move ahead on that, that's up to the board, and it is a board decision, because you could waive the deficiency as a technicality, or you can reject his bid, and that's one of the things that I will tell you that there's different ways to look at it. I know that Commissioner Dahlford has handled a lot of different projects like this over the years, so I might pick on his expertise.
All right.
And I did want to make sure y'all knew that Chandler is here too.
Yes. Yes.
Just saying.
You'd like to add anything, sir?
Well, I mean, at our meeting on Wednesday, certainly we're prepared to recommend the apparent lowest bidder. Again, after further technical review, it seemed like there were some reasons to maybe eliminate that bid. We're just in agreement with the engineer's recommendation to award the second lowest bidder. But again, that's our recommendation to you, but again, it's ultimately the BOC's decision. If there's any other details we need to go back and review or look at between now and another meeting, if y'all are more comfortable with that, that's
Gentlemen, would you like to enforce before we ask for a motion or any discussion amongst ourselves?
In looking at it, and I know time is of the essence, however, I also realize that, there were some moving parts, and I appreciate the quick turnaround. I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable, and I'll make that we postpone, the bid award for further evaluation of the bid packages to ascertain the responsible and responsive bidder, including and relevant project references. And if we can do that, just take a pause for a half a second, take just a tad deeper dive to make sure footing, and I'd be willing to come back if needed to a special call meeting to a board.
All right. Gentlemen, hearing Derek's recommendation or what his comfort is on this particular topic, I will tell you, I don't know if y'all had an opportunity to see the back and forth from Mike and myself and the board and Frank and Josh. When I know the engineer of record stated that a non-response, so he reached out to them and they did not give a response as to why that line was left available.
That works is in the instructions, they were to answer all of the questions.
Yeah.
And when they did not fill out that question, that's one of those technicalities that you can say, hey, they were supposed to fill out every question, they didn't, and you can exclude their bid from the process and mark it as non-responsive because they didn't follow the instructions to the bidders. Or you could waive that technicality and you could say, okay, we're going to go ahead and proceed by awarding that as a technicality. For me, it's an option there, and this is why I say it's a board decision, and we want a good project. I will tell you, and I think on Saturday afternoon, hopefully y'all have seen an email that I sent to Chairman Higdon and Ms. Baxter. That okay, here's where to me the situation is with the contractor that we have no experience with, and one that we have a lot of experience over the last decade or more. That I think he's done a lot of projects for us. And so for me, that's where the question was about a similar project in capacity, and when he left it blank, that doesn't give me anything, and that's why I said, well, it's a good quandary.
Do you feel like time is of the essence?
I do, because one of the things that we were trying to do with our bidding schedule, and that's why I can't answer off the top of my head, be awarded, but my concern is that if we, I don't want to mess up our schedule with federal funds. I don't want them to evaporate. So that's why I said, if we have to, and I hope it's a happy to, if we have to, said it would be a call meeting if y'all would agree to that. And that way you can, do a little bit more due diligence.
All right, I
Or,
appreciate, yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate the recommendation to the board, most definitely. The concern, and I'm gonna,
The deadline is August 31st.
it is August 31st?
Yeah, I logged in.
Okay.
the deadline,
For the grant application, for all the paperwork from them coming in to,
are you looking at something that they said in our time schedule that the,
the regional.
regional award has to be made by August 31st?
August 31st, 2022, by 11:59 p.m.
Okay, and that's the,
That's,
so that.
I thought August 1st was done at August 1st. I mean, I'm
So
sorry,
September
September 1st.
1st, that'd be done.
So,
Okay, that's great.
I was trying to, sorry.
I agree with Derek, of probably taking a little bit deeper dive. I'm a little more concerned of how this came to be. And I will tell you that I would feel most comfortable, following Derek's recommendation or moving forward tonight with accepting the original bid. And I will specify why I would accept the original bid and or Derek's option is for the fact of reading the email chain. I still can't wrap my head around how Dell Construction understood that there was a technicality. Because Dell Construction had no pre-information to know the technicality. No way possible. Because that's only looked at after the award. So said, I feel like we are in a legal, potential legal obligation, one or the other. It can be from Dell on the technicality, or it can be from them requesting how was it found out?
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, I've had talked with more people and had more information since even then. So, I think in hindsight, it may have been expecting a lot of the engineer vet, all of the bid submittals, and have a recommendation ready by Wednesday
That's
morning.
quick, yeah.
That quick.
That was a lot.
And, yeah, I mean, not that I have a vote here, but my sense to slow down and give Mr. Phillips a little more time to vet these things more thoroughly before he brings us a recommendation.
And from a legal standpoint, sir, I'll ask you the same question. The comfortability for this board from the technicalities to the potential view of finding the technicality.
How does it apply to this case?
How would it apply to
I mean,
this?
that's, I think, what the question is.
Well, without saying things that I don't know yet, but just based on things that I've been told this afternoon, there may be more that we need to look at than even this board has seen in emails right now. So,
So then I would probably say let's follow suit with what Derek has suggested and let's do a deeper dive. And we can do more than happy to do a special call session for this. I mean, Brian, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and if it hasn't been done, Secretary's motion.
Do you want to put a date on it specifically? I believe, I don't like open ends, particularly when we've got a firm date. If we want to say it's 2 weeks, I'm good with that. And then that gives us the opportunity to do information that's going to be presented to us and move one way or the other. But I don't care for things to come up and it be, this is urgent and we've got to decide it now. We've got a little bit. So
Remind me.
let's pick a date and a time, then it's completely transparent so Zach can show up too.
17th would be 2 weeks from both sides from tonight.
well, but you're talking about to have a call meeting? Because you may not need, I mean, if what Mr. Roach is looking correct, then you won't need a call meeting.
You won't, because there'll be a meeting.
Cause you'll make your decision tonight, which is no time for their 31st deadline.
Sorry, I don't have a calendar, but we will have it next week. I apologize. And I don't have one on my phone.
Well, let me ask this, then, Josh, Frank,
Sure.
put on the 29th, is that gonna
Maybe
give
it
you
is.
enough
Yeah.
time to have contracts signed, so that we don't get compromised in the funding?
We would do a notice of award, and then there would have to be performance bonds and other things that would be provided to us to do
Over for me.
before you enter into the contract, before you do that, you do on it. And this is where, for me, one of the things that, Friday afternoon, I was talking to Mark Beatty with the Regional Commission to make sure that, you know, either company are on the approved federal list, and I talked to, Deputy Commissioner Rusty Haygood to make sure there wasn't any issue with DCA, to make sure there wasn't any issue on the, what we needed to do, or on federal, that's where, for me, until I've got checked out that timeline, I don't want to tell you something wrong. I know Chris has done a good job of looking it up, but exactly where that's got to be in that timeline, I wish I had had that question before I came.
For both companies, is there anything that you're aware of from either company that would prevent them from being awarded the job?
No, sir. The only thing that the non-responsive answer, whether you want to weigh that as a technicality or not, on Ranger, both companies, are licensed as contractors in Georgia. And I believe that from what little I know on their ability to meet the federal guidelines, I think that they can both. That's where, for me, I know one company's new to Georgia and would be new for Madison County. The other company we have familiar with and has done a lot of projects, federally funded projects here in Georgia, and has I'll say more experience in our situation.
Well, what I'm talking about, again, without trying to say something that may or may not be true, there's been an issue raised that may go to the responsiveness of Ranger's application or submittal that's beyond the technique that we've talked about so far. I don't know if that's true or not, but again, I think they're asking this be done so fast that there weren't time to verify all these things. So
I'm still fine with a special call meeting on the 17th, if everyone else is. Sweet.
That's a Wednesday.
Was it 15th is a Monday? 15th, I'm sorry, the 15th is a Monday.
2 weeks from today.
I would prefer to set that and make sure that gives the IDA time to do what they need to do.
That's right. Josh, would y'all be good with that? That'll give you time if we do it on the 15th?
I prefer it on the 15th, again, because there's some things that have to happen between the award and signing the contracts. I don't want to cut us down to 40 hours.
No reason putting a bind. Mike, the additional information that's been shared with you,
well,
because it's short notice, do you have a problem sharing it with the board between now and the 16th?
no, sir. That out to you. My intent, if Commissioner Doster's motion passes, is to get with Mr. Phillips and make sure that all this stuff gets verified, and I'll get that back to y'all before your next meeting.
Included in that, I would really like to know, and because I bid probably 60% of the work that we do in entities, and I'm pretty sensitive to compromising the bid process.
Right.
On both sides of the table. I mean, I want everyone to be clear about that. And bid, and then provide a license number, a federal ID number, and a bid bond. There better be good reason for this. That's all I'm saying. And I'd like to know what it is, rather than we gave the information, we gave the bid package to the competitor prior to the bid being awarded, which is what happens somewhere down the road. I mean, and know that things like that happen. It's a learning experience for all of us to do that. It tells me next job what I bid, where my number needs to be, but until the contract is awarded and a letter of intent is issued, that information is confidential, and it don't need to leave the engineer records office, it don't need to leave y'all's office, and it don't need to leave this office. That ain't fair. And I take exception to that. So it better be a very compelling reason not to issue the contract.
All right, so I have a motion and a second on the table, a motion from Derek Dawson and a second by Commissioner Kirk to table this until the 15th of August. With that being said, any other discussion on the table, gentlemen? Hearing none. Frank?
Yes.
Yes.
Brian?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, motion carries. 15th of August. 6 p.m., gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank y'all, folks, for the
All right, and I know in an email chain earlier today, Commissioner Doster and Commissioner Kirk would like to go a little more in-depth into the Bluestone Hills. I sent out a brief email, and this goes on back from, I think, sometime around October of last year, some discussion on that private drive, and it was discussed getting some potential project costs together, and we did that today. It's a little late in the game, probably. I will be more than happy to discuss this tonight because it is a work session, and I can bring you up to speed. Bluestone Hills, they come to us in October, and we told the requirements was for adopting a private drive at that time. Mainly it was that we needed right-of-way acquisition from every property owner. That is a 100% completion. If one property holder holds out, then the project stops. Not even if there's 20 people that live on the road. They brought that information back to us. We brought it back before this board, and we talked about adopting this road. And at that point, it was on everybody's mind of, yes, they have a consent from all the property owners, but is this something we really want to do? We need to figure out a way to start adopting private roads, more so from a financial standpoint than anything else. So we started creating a criteria. And Christina, and matter of fact, Christopher Roach has done a good job with that, and I'm sure Lacey so, and Alan. We put together a plan that will set the tone for the future, but we didn't really put together a plan for the existing driveways. So we tried to put together for existing driveways a plan that says, okay, we're going to potentially look at it if there's X amount of miles or X amount of feet. Bluestone Hills was one that was about 3/10 that had 11 homes on it. I think our criteria was 5 homes and a quarter mile. So they would have met that. The other measure was, okay, so how bad is this road? Is this road completely overgrown and it's going to cost potentially $100,000 to widen it because it's just lined with big oak trees and there's going to be a removal process? That would have been one of the criteria. It's the cost to rebuild, the cost to revamp road, to get it passable and get it up to what we now call, you've seen it at Blackfield, you saw it over here off 281, Stapler Road, to where it's a super highway, 24 feet wide, the ditches are there. If you're going to build one, that's the standard we're going to build it, because that road will potentially, in the future, I'm not setting anything date on paving, but it'll be ready. Yeah, pavable. And with that, Alan went back out, and we had said earlier, this just happens to be a drive that was almost a perfect travel drive. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. Meaning the width was already there, the ditches were already there, the driveway pipes were already there, none of them had to be moved. When this road was probably in the 80s, somebody did build it correctly as far as width goes. The property owners have done a pretty good job of maintaining the ditches. We're not gonna have to build new ditches. We're just gonna have to clean them, scrape them out, and we're gonna have to add gravel back. No driveway pipes on it. Now, I'm saying this just so you can envision, because, you're in Hull, you don't know where it's at. But it's still, if I would tell you that if there was ever a drive in the county, not by the people that live on it, because I don't know a soul that lives on it, it has prep work ready. And from our cost analysis today, meeting with Allen's, we would be around $10,000 in gravel. Would set that road on ready. Or we have tons of private drives that would take weeks and weeks and weeks and $100,000. And it may actually only serve a quarter of that. So, with that being said, that's just an update on where that road is and why those people had asked and why we brought it before the board now. Christopher, to the best of my knowledge, we have not finished the existing private drive qualifications. We set it out on notes, but it has not been put into anything that this board has adopted. I do feel...
Now, Mr. Chairman, I thought that was, so in April, ordinance 58-161 was amended.
Something, I put a note on Christina's desk today that when I read the opening paragraph, it said something, anything constructed pre this date.
Yeah, so that's what 58-161 is for. It's got the criteria that the board shall consider to accept a private road constructed before April 25th.
Okay.
And it's basically all those things you just said, including the cost.
Yes. And the one thing that we wanted to add was a possibility of, let's just say that there's 5 homes, but it's a mile long. And let's also envision that mile, to even turn it into a passable dirt road, would cost $200,000. Then we would have the option of looking at a special tax district to pay for it.
Right, and that's one of the things that was added.
That's right. We haven't ignored private drives. We've been trying to develop something to be able to address private drives, and we're really, really close. Again, I would ask each of you to reach out to Alan if you choose to. I don't know of another drive in the county that's this close to exception based on the site, the cost, the distance, and the homes. I don't know of another one that's just ready.
Yeah, Todd.
Yes, sir.
I just want to comment that I'm not against taking this road. I would, I just like to further investigate it since it is right over here in the district, and I haven't had any of them talk to me about it. It may be something that we want to take up with further and vote on in the next few meetings or whatever. But I would like to just have time to look at it a little further to make sure that do sort of have all our I's crossed and our I's dotted and our T's crossed before we move forward, especially since we've been sort of dealing with this.
Absolutely, sir. This is not up for vote tonight. It was just more of an informative part is why we put it on tonight's agenda. The homeowners are not, honestly, they're not calling me every day. They know they've done what was asked of them by the pre-county ordinance. Holding off on this and giving everybody time to go look at it and do that investigation is absolutely no problem, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted that to be made known that, it's still something very viable.
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else, gentlemen, before I move on?
There's 2 issues on this that are pretty important to me. One, to make sure there's a clear understanding that we're dealing with 2 different things. In the future, or since adopters, when somebody wants to create a private drive, here's the criteria that you have to use. So that's issue number 1. And the reality is that when somebody wants to create a private drive, then that is all done at their cost before it gets approved as a private drive. still no county ownership, but private drive. So with Bluestone Hills and several others that we've talked about, every one of the property owners on those private drives purchased that property with the full knowledge that is a private drive and not county owned. It is in my mind for the county to jump in and improvements or acceptance of those potential private drives into county record should be at least at some part at the expense of the property owners. So and we've mentioned that to the folks on Bluestone Hills, and they understand that, and they are willing to. But my concern is we create a mechanism that whenever the next one comes in for consideration, that we have a mechanism there that this is how we will do it. That these are the costs that, and obviously every one of them is going to be different because each road has different. Is there clearing? Is there those kind of things? But a mechanism in place where we can define at least a fairly close estimate of what the costs are going to be to get that private drive up to county specs, and then and a mechanism for that cost to be divided equitably among the property owners that are on that road.
I think speaking fairly on that topic, the criteria should not be optional for the tax district, because whether it's a $10,000 fix or a $100,000 fix, I don't want to enter into one that we say, okay, we're going to fund this one, but we can't afford to fund that one. So if we're going to do that, let's just say it is $10,000. Then I will get with Lamar and say, Lamar, how long can we stretch this $10,000 out? How it will affect all 11 homeowners? Will it cause their tax bill to go up $11 and on the line item it says road repair over a period of 10 years? You know, if it's a $100,000 project, it's going to cost $dollars a year over a period of 10 years. But I do think that mechanism needs to be one of the very first ones to be fair across the board for everybody. But it is doable. I'm really proud of the future road progress because we know for a fact that we're not going to be in this situation anymore. So, all right, well, gentlemen, thank you. Brian, thank you for chiming in on that, buddy. I appreciate it. Any other discussions? Got any thoughts, bud?
You know, I know it was mentioned the other night, and I didn't recall that the paperwork had been started, and so it just kind of caught me off guard. So just wanted to make sure that we had at the appropriate time to evaluate whatever we need to evaluate. And, you know, I know, and I'm not in the stack the deck against anybody, but for example, $1,000 today, you know, that got done, you know, as a good belly washer. But you got to do some patchwork right after it, and all of a sudden come back. You know, how do we kind of build some contingencies in there? So the process is, as Commissioner Chandler said, I'm very interested in making sure we have that, so it's fair across.
And again, I apologize that this has went from October to now, and as Mike and Christopher and Larry, there's so much going on the backside that it wasn't hard to get on a topic in October and not get back to it until August 1st. A lot of changes in documentation. Mike?
Yes, sir.
We want to make sure everything mirrors with the moratorium that did slow us down as we look at the subdivision requirement for adoptions of roads, making sure that it's not easier to build a subdivision road than it is for the county to adopt it to where it's
Absolutely.
sandwiched.
All right. New business, discuss amending section 2-243, administration of code of ordinances. All right, Mike, this one's on you.
Yes, sir. And this was just something that Christina brought to my attention. And y'all recall, well, those of you who were here, so we did a home rule amendment to our charter to authorize, well, the way we thought of it was to authorize the chairman to authorize expenditures up to the $100,000 formal bid limit. Actually, what that home rule amendment said is to authorize the board to amend the purchasing policy to authorize the chairman to do that. And we never came back and amended the purchasing policy to match that charter authority. So that's what you have in front of you now is the amendment to the purchasing policy to close that loop.
All right. I mean, you're not going to hurt my fellow gentlemen if you restrain it down as much as you want. I don't even carry a credit card for the county because I don't want the responsibility of it. But I do get it. We have not had to use it, up to this limit, and anytime I do, or what the dollar amount is, if it's over a reasonable amount of, $5,000, you get an email anyway, letting you know what we're doing. So this is a board motion. This has nothing to do with Todd.
Yes, honestly, I was working under the assumption that
It's already done.
it's already done. So if that be the case, are we looking for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Then I would make a motion that we,
Or do we just, I'm sorry, do we just?
You actually have the resolution.
We have the work session tonight, so let's put it up.
Yeah, I don't plan on buying nothing in the next couple of weeks, no way, so.
Well, to be honest,
August 29th.
yeah, Commissioner Adams is right. We've been operating under the assumption it was in here anyway. We just been digging into something unrelated, found that, oh, this needed to be done to close the paperwork.
All right. Good. I want to let everybody know, I think, Lacey, Christopher, Wednesday morning, is it 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock? Department head meeting?
9:30.
9:30 department head meeting here. If anybody would like to attend that, I'm sure you'll be free. Mr. May, first day of school, I can't believe you showed up with hair, my friend. But with that said, I'd like to come in and meet some of the department heads. Feel free. It's an open meeting. I'll tell you some of the topics that's going to be on it. We're going to talk about some vehicle usage. We're going to talk about credit card usage. Just various items, but it's also going to be a safety meeting, which we're required to have. We are fortunate since, I guess, January 4th, 2020, we've had department head meetings every quarter. I was told that was unheard of, but it's good for me because I need to know feedback. Plus, a lot of times the department heads like to know what we've got going on. I will tell you that Ms. Talbert is our financial director, is working on implementing county policy because we've been a little lax on it. No particular department. I'm proud of it. I really am. We're really good. The commission has done a great job. This courthouse and all the surrounding areas of Madison County, the public should be proud of because this is probably as well-oiled right now today than I can remember in my lifetime. All these guys are doing a good job. They're doing a good job all across the board, so I'm very thankful for that. Brian, do you have anything in closing, sir?
No, sir.
Oh, all right. One of you, Brian, but we have a map. I should have brought this up earlier. I'm sorry, before urgent matters. I should have brought it up in the chairman's report, and I forgot about it. You bring this in, this map?
If I may.
Yeah.
At the opening, I attended it simply because the Morse Road project is in District 1, and I had the opportunity to speak with Frank and Mr. Phillips, our engineer, and some months ago, the BOC partnered with the IDA to alleviate some of their debt burden and make them more viable as an entity. And then we identified, and there were a number of things that we talked about in regards to projects for the IDA, but it was my thoughts that if the BOC is going to partner with the IDA to self-fund projects moving forward, not in all cases, but in some, it would be prudent on our part to have basic plans on the shelf, the engineering done, so that if we saw an opportunity, we could allow them to go ahead and seize forward with projects. It's the only logical way to let the IDA continue to develop our water system. And part of our intergovernmental agreement, we stated that their expenditures, here again, falling back on the discussion we just had regarding the share of the BOC, if it exceeds $100,000 total dollars, it's gotta come to us anyway. After the IDA board approves it, then it comes to the BOC for our review and approval. This group, there are two projects marked on this reduced map. One in red at the city of Comer is a redundant water feed for the feed mill there, which also gives us the opportunity to use the well at the feed mill to supply our system. It interconnects that. And then the second is, there has been discussion for basically a year now, where Creek Group to approve our tie-in to the Jackson County water system on 334. It's the blue where it says Project 2, and it would be the water main from the tower at the old Sanford School up to the Nice Diamond Hill crossroads there, that would connect us to the line that's been run from the well on Rogers Mill and through the system. Then it would cross through the Crabapple Hollow Road to the Nowhere Road. It would pick up a dead end that we currently have on the Sanford Road, and it would also pick up a dead end that we have at Sanford, Seagraves Mill, Nowhere Road, crossroads, and it would put us in a position to be within about a mile, plus or minus, of where 34 for that when it's approved. And I understand the conversation is getting closer to that contract moving forward. And what I had asked Frank and Mr. Phillips to do was put together a set of engineered drawings and a pre-construction estimate so that these projects could be on the wing should we pursue them at some time in the future. And I guess what we're asking for tonight would be approval for the IDA to enter into an engineering agreement with Mr. Phillips, or to consider that and us vote on it at our next meeting. So that here again we could have projects on the shelf ready to be pulled down, dusted off, and then proceed. Anyway, Frank has done and Josh has done what I asked, and to identify the two projects 1 and 2, which right now would seem to be close to the top of the list. It's fluid, of course, and it may change back and forth, but it would address two needs that, one, we've got a tremendous exposure now to the feed mill, and the other setting the stage to tie in to the water line of 334. And here again, if y'all would consider perhaps the next meeting we can bring it up for further discussion.
Is there a way to get a rough cost estimate, not for the project itself, but for the engineering on this?
The engineering for that project would not be, anything. All of the project handling of the thing on the CDBG project, all of the work there, handling that, I think the total was $10,000, which was about a third of where the other engineers were on that. And other engineering companies would do a submittal for no cost, but then their back-end cost was about 3 times the price of Mr. Phillips. So that's why we said, okay, look, we think we can expect that we could get engineering drawings and takeoffs on quantities and stuff for a few $1,000s. I'd say maybe might cost $5,000 because you're not bidding and you're not doing that type of rest of that work, put together bid documents. But at least then you have a much better feel for what that cost would be. And the reason that I asked John to give y'all a drawing tonight, as I wanted to let y'all look at it, and if you think that's something you want to do, the advantages of having that done in advance, because y'all remember we submitted under the monies, the projects, and this is where you could go ahead and have the engineering work done much better feel for it. Because I do believe that, in my conversation with the governor, that there may be a second round coming on ARPA, and by having, you know, something a little bit more concrete, that may be or it may be that you use money that you've gotten in on ARPA funds to fund it. So, for me, I don't think, you know, I can't just give you a hard, fast number, but I think it'd be probably somewhere in the $5,000 plus.
No, that's fine.
If you include something like the correction in the sewer situation up at Dogsboro, what kind of cost would you be looking at to do that engineering correctly?
Dogsboro's gonna be quite a bit more since because you are talking about, you know, when you do the engineering work for it, then, okay, can you get easements and
Potential acquisitions.
the things there, you've got gravity flow sewer so it's much more involved because you're on other people's property.
Yeah.
And when you're doing the water line, it would own right-of-way work, and so you don't have the unknown of the property acquisition and the easements and right-of-ways that you have to ascertain, and that's a bigger obstacle.
In talking to the engineer, if you would, see if you can get a feel for what a pre-engineering would cost on something like that. I'm personally convinced there's reason we lost out on that grant opportunities. We didn't have this information.
Yeah, and preliminary engineering report, which is not getting to the, okay, here's what your fittings and, you know, having all of the line work done, but, you know, it was more, what you're looking for here is much more detailed work, and that's where, for me, I think it would help. You know, I think that's something that would be, before I did anything, I wanted to make sure that, first off, you know, because it was a brief discussion between Commissioner Adams and John Phillips and myself, that, you know, I had the gist of what you were looking for, and those are the two top projects that we were trying to do, was connect the Sanford community and connect the water system down. So as far as moving those two forward, I think those are the next two biggest things that you've got on your system improvement.
Let me say, and so everybody's an understanding here, the Sanford project, while Sanford is in District 1, from the get-go, the conversation is, the tying point to the Jackson County system has always been through the Lloyd Road. I mean, even prior to my coming on board, you know, that was a conversation that had been initiated, and the direction I believe the project was going in from the get-go.
That is correct, and of course, I would remind you, probably the longest dead end is going down into the Sanford community, coming off of East Commerce. And one of the things that, although it you know, the Nice Fire Department had ISO come out a couple weeks ago, and we actually went out and did some field testing to prove that in the fire department's testing, they couldn't show that there was a minimum of 250 gallon a minute flow with 20 PSI. We were able to show that to ISO with some of our equipment, and so the fire department did get credit for those hydrants that are on that road, but I will tell you, I think it ran out about 300 and something gallons a minute. So you don't have the best of fire flow. If you're a fireman, you want to have better flow, but the main thing is you have along the dead end line, and this project would solve that problem. It's something that, as the county continues to grow, we would fully expect to see more growth on the south and west end of the county, population-wise.
Thank you. Anybody? Derek? I see you, sir.
No, I appreciate, Commissioner Adams bringing this up and getting it on the forefront. It's been on something in the back of my mind ever since ever since I was on the IDA board at the time. So I've got no reservations in moving the feed mill project forward. I've got no reservations on moving the project 2 on. I guess my only caveat with that would be is when we look at that, see if there's any alternative options that we need to consider within these commerce or 106 intersection. knowing that we might have some road work in the future, right there, just look at any alternatives, like, instead of just tying black into it, if we make appropriate
In case there's an
guesses.
alignment of those, that crossroad or
Just
whatever.
try to see if we can
Good idea.
crystal ball ourselves just a little bit, put us in a better position.
I spoke with, Mr. Phillips, he was in.
There's a reason why I can't be an engineer.
I spoke with Mr. Phillips Thursday, I think he was in dropping off the bid packets. I told him basically exactly what you have here. I went a little bit further, because I do think that we need about 4 projects at all times on the books. The fact that we finish the project and we wait to decide where the next project's gonna go, where the next funding's gonna come from, where now we're in a little better shape through ARPA than maybe in years past when they sort of had to wait, that I felt like, I do agree with you. The 2 presented tonight are great. My personal opinion is I like the Comer feed mill for industrial growth, is a must.
Easy to work.
And then, you know, I'd like to see we gotta move. I know it's gonna be expensive. Sewer's always expensive. If you look it up, it says expensive. But we are gonna have to make that move also. So, you know, anytime you have a plan, you want a 5-year, 10-year, and a 20-year plan. We've always worked from one year to the next, from one bootstrap to the financials. Now that we are a little better with the ARPA funds, I think we start looking at that 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. But we also need to look at the immediate. Mize Road being the immediate, I would tell you within a year after Mize Road, you know, 2023, we'll probably should be running a line across to Highway 72 feed mill by next year. I see this progressing. I don't see us having that gap in time for a while. But with that said, that's my statements on it. Brian, you have anything to say, sir?
Yeah, I agree with those, projects, though. I agree with what's saying about continuing on with, how you get projects. That's good.
Thank you. Commissioner May? You good? I'm good. All right. Urgent matters, gentlemen. Hearing none. Anybody got anything before I close this out? All right. Executive session, discuss real estate acquisitions, personal matters, or potential litigation, sir.
Sir.
Derek Doster, number 10.
I moved, would you, adjourn?
Brian, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Hope you get to feel better.
Yes, sir.
Got everybody in?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Right.
Traffic this morning at 7:25 was from the school to the roundabout and down to the marketplace. Because the roundabout, you blocked all the other traffic, because when it stopped and turned to go down to school, you had that lane block. So everybody was going straight through, still said it. So traffic was horrendous. It will be tomorrow. Mom and Dad will say, you know, he's all right. Little Johnny's gonna be okay. He can ride this. He's not Lacey, thank you.
You're welcome.
This doesn't make any sense.
Talk before we leave, I got Yes, sir.
But as long as it's fair. As long as it's fair. No problem.
And I presume I have to.
No, I agree. That's why I didn't stop.
Okay, all right, I wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Right. Okay. You gonna go home with like about an hour? Yeah. That's good. I ain't gonna stop. Really?
Process thereof, I told her, the first time that
How old are you? Oh, okay. This is coming along. It's gonna be a big distance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we got
Oh, I see. You're thinking of going from man to man. We stopped at man to man. Yeah.
They might have really understood what they were.
On the page, because they don't
It's not your responsibility. It's not the county.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
Yes, I could make a copy of that, that would be perfect.
What's happening with that?
I tried to follow along and do word for word, do a lot of shorthand.
I noticed on your thing, Jonathan.
Thank you. I will fix that. Any little bit of information helps. I appreciate it so very much.
I'll call you back.
That would work fine. I said for me, I like it because it does bring that water line through the,
Rather than just go over the Sandy Road.
We grab my pen for it, did that work? Grab my pen. Thank you.
Which I might be wrong, that might be the only place.
I don't have it all the way to arm.
The connection all the way to the
That's so clever.
And it comes from 149 to 98, then down Rocky Hill Road, then down this Sandy Road, and then you go back up to the highway.